Kayla has 32 stamps. Some are worth 35 cents, some are worth 40 cents. If the combined value of the stamps is $12.40, how many of the 35 stamp variety does Kayla have? To start, we don't know how many 35-cent stamps she has, right? Let's call them X. And likewise, we don't know how many 40-cent stamps she has. Let's call those Y. Now, we know the X variety costs 35 cents a piece. And we know the Y variety costs 40 cents a piece. And we know that when she buys all her stamps, she lays out $12.40. So we can say that the X variety times its cost plus the Y variety times its cost, when we add everything up, should equal $12.40. Now, we also know she buys 32 stamps, right? So her X stamps plus her Y stamps should equal 32. In other words, we've got two equations, and we can use these to solve for the variables. Now, keep your eye on the prize. What's the question after? How many 35-cent stamps does she have? In other words, how many X-type stamps does she have? If we want to figure out the X stamps, notice we don't really care about the Y stamps. So we've got to figure out a way to get rid of the Y's and to solve for X. Let me give you some ideas to make this easy. I know you might want to charge for the calculator because things look really complex, but first off, notice if we multiply the top equation by 100, what's going to happen? The decimals in all three terms are going to slide 2 spots to the right, giving us 35x plus 40y equals 1240. Now, at this point, you may still feel like, hey, this is pretty complicated, but what if we were to multiply the bottom equation by 40? What would we get? 40x plus 40y equals 32 times 40. And that would be super helpful because now we could subtract the two equations, get all the y's to cancel, and we'd be left with x's. Now, before we do that, we've got to wrestle with the 32 times 40, which I know for a lot of people is not easy. You could, of course, plug that into a calculator. That's fine. If you want an easy strategy that avoids that, well, let's think about it like this. 40 is 10 times 4, right? So I'm going to rewrite this as 10 times 4, and 32 is 30 plus 2. Now, if we were to do the distribution, 4 times 30 is 120, and 4 times 2 is 8. So we can rewrite this as 10 times 128, which is 1280. In other words, we've got 40x plus 40y equals 1280, and we've got 30x plus 40y equals 1240. Well, what happens when we subtract the two equations? 40x minus 35x is 5x. The y's just cancel out, and 1280 minus 1240, that's 40. In other words, if 5x is 40, we therefore know that x is 8. And what is x? That's the number of 35-cent stamps that Kayla has. And there you go. That is the reason why here the correct answer is 8.